Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta L. Lofton, host of Black Businesses Matter.
I am Larvetta Lofton, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
All right, guys, I am excited to have this guest. So I'm going to just tell you guys, Samantha, I've already met her and she's amazing. We did a show during Small Business Week and she was one of the featured businesses in Chicago at the L1 Connector. That is in Hyde Park. Well, it's not. Yeah, it is Hyde Park. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Let me not try to be literal because sometimes, talk to the right people. But for those of us that live in Chicago, it is L1 Connector, which hosts three businesses. And this incredible artist, filmmaker, and healer has her business, which is Samantha Jo's Balm Yard. And so we heard about her doing that and we were like, okay, we've got to bring you back. Like, we got to let people know about the work that you're doing and the fact that you are concentrating in this Black and brown space. And, we've been talking about self-care because we find that self-care isn't just beauty. It's just not the things that make us look beautiful on the outside, but there's other things that help us to be beautiful in the inside. And so we think that it is so important. So I'm going to tell you all, she's passionate about art, inspiring to create visual projects under the name Samantha Jo. So for you all who like, my favorite show, Samantha from Sex and the City. Whenever I hear that, I have a moment. So I'm just having a moment. Yeah. You all, she's Samantha Jo. Okay. I'm just having a moment.
And I'm a fan.
And you're a fan. Yeah. But this is Sex and the City with the Black and brown girls. Yes. So just for the record. Okay. She graduated from Columbia College with a degree in business, but further explored her creative art and fashion abilities at the University of Art London. You gotta tell me about that. Yes. In addition to being an artist and filmmaker, her love for healing led her to found the Aura House, which is a nonprofit that provides mental health resources for Black and brown women all ages in Chicago. And most recently, she just opened up Samantha Jo's Balm Yard, a Botanica and Apothecary. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. And so that is here. And so she's going to talk about just kind of refining mental health and how this happened during the pandemic. And so I love when we are talking about businesses that really thrived and actually were birthed during the pandemic, because I think it's just a moment of silence, but a moment of birthing and building dreams. So welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I've been anticipating coming here. I've been so excited all day.
And so we have had to get her. She's a busy woman, y'all. So the fact that we have her today, we are over here like, yes. And she's in her new studio, guys. I keep trying to tell you all. Actually, you all don't know this, so I'm going to tell you all, we're in a new studio. So we are coming out of my home studio, and we have a new studio and a new audio genius that's helping us out. So the sounds amazing. So if you see a difference and you've been rocking with us, leave us a review and just tell us, because I feel like we're just raising the bar. Right?
Yeah.
So Samantha, enough about us on this podcast, because she didn't tell us this, but she also has a podcast. We'll get to that. She didn't tell us that. It's not in her bio. I try to stick to the bio.
It's a gem.
Okay. I just want to make sure that she won't talk about me and say she didn't even know my podcast. So I didn't know. But I do want to talk about, I like to start off Samantha Jo. Who is Samantha Jo as a little girl?
Oh my gosh. So Samantha Jo as a little girl with Geechee lineage. I was always into the metaphysical, everything. My name being Samantha, I make, it's a funny, interesting joke actually with my mother, because she said that the name Samantha was very popular in the 90s or late 80s because of Alyssa Milano's character was named Samantha.
Yes.
And then what's so funny, because my mother, she's not, though she can be conservative, she's also very open. So I grew up having a lot of freedom to spirituality. So I wasn't forced to go to church, though we went. I wasn't forced to have a certain belief, though I knew. So I was pretty open to, have Halloween and like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and things like that. And so I found it very interesting after doing my research that the character from Bewitched that was very popular at that time, name was Samantha. And Alyssa Milano, who was named Samantha, ended up being the biggest pop culture icon in Charmed. So I was like, look at that. It's like I was destined to be a healer.
Yes.
And so I've always known about my father's lineage when it came to our spirituality, but I just didn't know how deep it was because my parents had got a divorce. So I did not grow up around my father nor his family. So I was kind of detached from that, though he left me gems growing up of, we have Geechee Gullah ancestry. Your family has come from these parts of Africa. You come from the people of the sticks of the Congo. The
Now, what's
Cameroons.
Geechee for the folks?
Geechee.
Yes, tell us.
So the Geechee Gullah people are... they were my ancestors that were enslaved on the coast, so the southeast coast. So they were the ones that was on what we knew was the rice plantations. So I really encourage people to research the ancestry and the stories behind Geechee Gullah people because they had a different path to their freedom than a lot of people in the South. It looks very different because they cultivated so many things that were that was a necessity at that time, and where they were placed, it was just a different. It was a different journey for them. So there's a lot of things that I am still learning about my people, and now that I've reconnected with my father through the pandemic, we took a mini road trip down there to St. Augustine. The Carolinas coast, and we ultimately ended in Sanford, where he's from, and which is actually where Zora Neale Hurston lived as well. There's a lot of beautiful statues and stories about Zora Neale Hurston all throughout the coast, which made me think, was Cousin Geechee too? What's going on? So it's such a rich ancestry. If any person has any connection to the Carolina South, that may be part of your lineage, and so many of us are so detached and don't know we have land.
Yeah, we did have land. Yeah, we just sold our land.
And then there's people that just don't know that these beautiful condos and high rises, especially in St. Augustine, where my people are, they're being bought up with our name still on it. So people don't even know. As long as your name is on that land, you can go say, "Oh, this is nice. This is mine."
Yes. We had a lot of. We just sold it as a family, so I'm very familiar. And it's in the north. It's in North Carolina.
Why did you sell it?
I think it was a family decision.
Okay.
I think because of they didn't know who would handle and manage it because it's basically 3 generations. So it's my dad's dad. So I think from there, to me, this is where I think stops. I don't think that so in some cases with families, their parents were gone. So it's the children would be me. But of course my dad is still here. So some of them were kids. And I just think as a family, because people were dying off, they were afraid that who would handle everything. And I think that was the decision because it wasn't a bunch of just real talk, it wasn't a bunch of young people. And I feel like, because I even said, I was like, could we just hold it? And they were like, I don't think you're going to get everyone to agree because of the age difference, right?
Gotcha.
And so when you're at that, he's like, well, let me just take my check and keep it moving, but I was like telling my dad, I was like, he said, I wish you could have, but it would have just been work for me to kind of convince them and
That's
that,
a lot.
yeah. And so, I certainly kind of threw it out there, but then I was
Mm-hmm.
also managing my mom. I was managing my dad's portion. Then I was managing my cousin's portion. So I was just like,
oh, that's a lot to carry.
It was a lot to carry that I kind of removed myself from the vision of it and just was like, let me help facilitate their stuff and just keep it moving. But
there's a lot of layers to land. And I didn't understand that until I met my family and saw the land that they have.
Yeah.
And even just down there hearing, and that was my first time meeting this family. at all. I did not know they existed. And so to hear their thick Gullah accents, it was like, cousin, you know, you Geechee, like the way they just say it, I'm like, tell me more. And like Geechee, the people, Gullah, the language. I've just learned about indigo dyeing. There's a certain type of dye process that Gullah people perform. So I'm still learning what that means when I do say I have Geechee ancestry.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because it's not so much taught.
It's not, and I'm glad I asked the question, because I think sometimes when we say that, I think sometimes I can sit here, we thinking that's part of Nigeria or Africa, and not knowing that actually is part of U.S.
Yeah,
you know,
it is.
Beautiful.
And I'm learning more, so don't quote me, because there's so many other beautiful things I have yet to discover about my own people, but just know the language and the people themselves is so colorful and so rich, and we're still here.
Yeah, but that's who we are, right? As Black and brown, we're colorful and rich.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the thing about it. So based on all of this, and based on, I think, you really discovering your own heritage and getting you to this place where Samantha Jo's Balm was created. Tell us about that and that experience. She just lit up, guys. We're in the studio. She just lit up. I love it.
Because it's such a beautiful story. So like you've mentioned earlier, I've been an artist my whole life. And after I went to the University of Art London, I had studied abroad, and I was one of two only Black people in my entire program.
Wow.
And there was a lot from all over the place. We had people from Poland, Switzerland, all over the place. And so for a Black girl from the south side of Chicago, this is my first flight ever. And then my first flight out of the country at 22 years old.
Wow.
I don't know what to expect. I don't know what's coming. But that was the first time I realized what depression really was. That was the first time I realized I may have ADHD. And just being separated from a culture that was so loud and fast moving to a space where I'm looking at my home from a different perspective, or more so from how other people view us, it did a lot. And I wasn't sure what it was I was feeling, but I was starting to feel more detached from myself than ever. So when I returned home with this new sense of awareness, but not knowing what to do with it, where to put it, where to place more focus. But when I went back to school at Columbia to finish out, to get my degree, all I knew to do was to paint. And so I just started painting. I started getting more creative with my hands. And at the time, I was trying to hide my name on Facebook. So I came up with this name that said Samantha Elizabeth Jo.
Wow.
And I had started a beautiful art collective, co-created with 5 other artists in Chicago.
Okay.
And one of them introduced me as Samantha Jo. And I'm like, oh, that's not my name. But I never told people that's not my name. And I was like, but you know what? I like it.
Wow.
Let's go with it. Samantha Jo. So then I started calling my art just Samantha Jo. And that's where that was birthed. And so I had done that for a few years, did art, visual art, filmmaking. And once the pandemic, or when lockdown happened and I lost my job, I'm like, okay, now what do I have? I can create these things. But then at that point, I started just creating to make money. I didn't feel connected to my art anymore. I was commissioned. So that means you're commissioning me for money to do this. I'm not just moved to do this for a cause or something like that. And so with all the things that were happening, disruption in our immune systems, now we're looking at life a little differently. Now we're taking stock of our bodies, of what can my body fight? Because I don't even know what my body is looking like on the inside. Have I been taking care of myself? So you start to take stock of these different things. And I started to dive deeper into herbalism.
Okay.
So once I did that, I started to just have different downloads spiritually that weren't making sense. Because it kind of, and I tell people that it kind of felt like in the movies and like, especially like these cute little teenage witchy movies, it's like the 16th birthday, she get her powers and it's like, what's going on? I just feel so disrupted. That's essentially how I felt because we paused. When have we ever paused?
That's right.
To listen, to download spirit and the word from God. When have we ever been this silent? I know I haven't. So and with understanding depression and mental health and going to therapy, I was so into that type of healing. When we just go silent, lots of things come through. So I started reading more. A lot of us have more time on our hands. And I came across a book called Tell My Horse by Zora Neale Hurston. And I've read from just different posts of how Zora Neale Hurston gets all the Black girls excited. Yes. And I hadn't had a journey with Zora yet. I've had my journeys with bell hooks, and that was deep. But with Zora, she added that spiritual layer to it and that understanding. And that is when I felt ready. Like, okay, let's open this up. And the first chapter of that book, she's in Jamaica. Spoiler alert. She's in Jamaica, and she's talking about the different spiritual practices from different African countries and continents just around the world. And she started in Jamaica, and she begins to speak about a Balm Yard. And Balm Yards were, I won't say they were created in Jamaica, but this is where she discovered what a Balm Yard was. Okay. But you can find Balm Yards in Benin, Togo. You can find a Balm Yard in Nigeria. You can find Balm Yards all over West Africa. But here she was experiencing it in Jamaica, where this was a space that people came to heal. Wow. You feel this disruption in your life, you go talk to your elders. You found your elders in one space. You went to this Balm Yard to get your prescriptions for healing. You need a bath? Here's your bath. Here's all the herbs that you take your baths with. This is how I'm going to speak life over you, protection. You went to a Balm Yard. Balm Yard is an actual place. Wow. And there were Balm Yards on our soil. So deep in the book, she then starts to make those connections to New Orleans, St. Augustine. She lived in St. Augustine, in the same neighborhood as my family, which I found out. And in the same neighborhood my father grew up in Sanford, Florida. And when I reconnected with my dad and I saw so many of her pictures everywhere we went, I'm like, Zora, you are leading me. Wow. You're leading me. So show me your story. Why was this moving to you? So I just went with it. Nice. And that is what gave me the courage to reconnect with my father and his family, to take that trip, but to learn about a Balm Yard and how I wanted to not only serve as that to my community, but I hope to one day open a physical Balm Yard myself.
Nice. And I think, I will say this, and I was in Jamaica a few months ago, and we did something, I don't know, I can't remember what it was called, but we went on these rafters. It's called rafting. And they cleanse our legs. Like they put this, something from the soil and kind of gets rid of the dead soils. And we just relaxed. The water, not everybody went, but for me, it was intriguing because they all created this raft. So it was people, they had people to build them and create it. Like physically rafters, like it was, literally the bark from the trees and putting them together, and we're sitting in them. And you could, so imagine and for all of us that live in Chicago, you got boats, right? But you don't know, you're not looking at the boat like, oh, how did they build the boat? Oh, I could see that. So it was really, really cool. But there was a sense of peace while we were out there. We played our music, but it was just, everybody was out there on their own raft, and they take that and they, cleaned our legs, and, some people had them clean their whole body. It was such a beautiful experience. So when you said, I was like, I felt a little bit like a Balm Yard, but it wasn't quite that. But to your point,
absolutely,
it was a moment that I think is a pause, right? from everyday life, because it was rainwater that was created. It was rainwater. It wasn't real, it wasn't an ocean. It was rainwater.
First element of earth.
I know. So I'm just like having a moment because I'm like, oh my gosh. So when you think about this, I want to ask you this, because we've got multiple generations, right? We got baby boomers, we got Gen X, we got millennials, we got all these generations, right? And if you talk to a baby boomer about this, they're like, honey, I don't have time. I go home and take a bath and I feel good. And that's it, right? That's how we look at this. Then you might say for Gen X, which is my generation, I'm intrigued, but I'm scared. I'm nervous. Like, this is quite
absolutely.
this. So I'm going to say, let's talk to the Gen Xers, because I feel like the millennials are kind of like, but they're about securing a bag. So if it's going to help them secure the bag, that might help them too. So for that. So walk us through that experience if you were talking to someone that was a Gen X or baby boomer.
Well, I would speak from the experience of my mother, a baby boomer, cusper, I like to call her.
On the cusp.
She's on the cusp. It's been a journey to watch her daughter go through this in something that she is not experienced in. And this was not her source of inspiration. I wasn't inspired by my mother through this. It was more so my father's family, which she's always known. So talking to her about it and seeing where she is now, skepticism. Yeah, she was very skeptical. Like, if you weren't my daughter, I'd look at you more like, I don't know. But one thing was that, is that she's a spiritually connected woman of God.
Amen.
And no matter what the path is, if you are led there in love and guided by light, she doesn't see anything demonic about anything.
That's awesome.
And she sees how my practice has added so much good to my life. And I give people the example of therapy because I am a huge fan of one-on-one therapy. I am an advocate for mental health awareness, and I'm an advocate for anyone that has a path that they need to take for their highest good to get them feeling all right. But when I did that process, there was still something missing. And I had a roommate at the time that was very Christian, God-fearing, and I did not have that same upbringing and connection to God in that way. So for me, I did not see that as a loss because I love God. I love praying. I love talking to God. But I just did not see my connection in the way that most Black people were getting it. And I'm like, I see people like in Buddhism and like all these other practices. I'm like, I know this can't just be just it for me to get to this way of living my life. So then I started to open up to African traditional religion because I'm African first. So once I did that research, it kind of led me to those things that I heard my dad talk about growing up. And I wrote it off as, oh, girl, he crazy. Because that's what people would write him off as of, no. That's that voodoo juju and all that stuff. No, that's not this. But I still didn't feel comfortable in just that. And once I learned mindfulness and how well that worked for me, I'm like, okay, there is more to add onto this path of mine to lead me closer to God. And so once I just dug a little deeper, I found out my father's practice in an African traditional practice. And that led me to other people that were coming around in community. And there's so many beautiful people in Chicago that have opened me up so much more where I'm like, all of this can coexist together. Because when I'm at my altar praying to God, sometimes I want to chant, R.I.P. to Tina Turner. When I watched that movie of watching her, because that source of pop culture opened me up to something different. Where I'm like, Mom, what's she doing? Nam Yo Renge, like what? What is that? That helps people channel more to stay focused and centered. All of those practices can exist together. So you just have to see what works for you and not damn the things that works for others because that's not your practice.
Yeah.
So for me, It was for me. And I needed that added source of healing so I can stay focused on my own path. So it's not up to me to persuade anybody to practice what I practice, but just to show people that you may need an extra layer here or there to make it all connect for you. And there's no wrong right or way to do it. So,
and to be, I mean, because, you know, I was thinking and I said to myself, right, you have mental health, you have physical health, you have emotional health, right? And when I think about physical health, could be it's walking, it's dancing, it's Pilates, it's double dutch, it's spinning, it's all of these things. But we make mental one thing.
exactly.
Like, go get therapy. And it's so much, I mean,
Band-Aid, done.
Yeah.
You just go to one-on-one therapy.
You just go to one-on-one, you good.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, and knowing that from a diversity standpoint of understanding from a culture of Black and brown, that while we haven't been embraced, or I'm not going to say this, we haven't been accepted to have mental health, there's also other mental things that we haven't done either. Because we had a guest with sound healing.
Exactly.
And sound healing is, oh my gosh, it is incredible because you channel, I've channeled later, I am triggered in a happy way off of audio. So I'm triggered by audio. I'm not triggered. And when I say this is that, which is the thing of multitasking, right? And I just discovered this, which is why I think, you know, your space of Balm Yard helps me to really dig a little bit deeper. But it's like this thing of like, I can listen to you, but if there's a conversation of this, I am like, I'm trying to listen to both because I'm triggered with audio.
Yes.
And so growing up, right, audio learner, right, what kind of learner were you? I have to hear it.
Right.
And hear it to be able to get it. And then see it is my next thing.
I was a seer.
You know?
So it's like you're telling me this God and we're in church and to pray, but where at?
Where? Exactly.
Because you're not teaching me that the source is here.
Correct.
If I am a reflection of this powerful, beautiful entity, why should I fear it?
Yeah.
And instill that powerfulness in me to be great. And that's where the mental health thing is. If I don't know that, I'm not going to feel that.
Correct.
You know?
Because I think mental health, do you find that we replace church as a mental health tool?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And when in my 20s, I actually checked myself into a outpatient mental health program. And that is something that I'm getting better at revealing because I need people to understand there's nothing wrong with that.
That's good.
Go do that. If you feel that way, it's okay to take some time out to go get those needs met.
And what triggered you to do that? I'm just curious.
Other people telling me about myself. And now that I look back at it, they were so wrong. But I hold space for myself because I look at it as not only I was helping myself, I went to school. I went to healer school, 101 university, first class, yourself. And look at yourself. And it wasn't until I was at this program, which was very white. It is not Black owned. As I said, I was the only person of color
in this
this circle, but they had group therapy. They had a kitchen available with food stocked up that you can just go in there and get something. They gave you teas, though caffeine wasn't allowed because caffeine is a drug. So they didn't allow any caffeinated drinks or anything like that. But they just had so many resources. They had days there where we could meditate together. If you're feeling triggered that day or feeling, wanting to unalive yourself in a way, you can just show up there with no appointment and just be like, what group y'all have today? It's like, oh, one starts in 5 minutes. Oh, I can just go in there. Why do they have that?
Wow.
And we don't have stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then I had to go on the internet to see symptoms and be like,
is that me?
Oh, that's me. And I was on Tumblr and Blogspot
Yeah.
Looking at these different pages that people who did not look like me started, and they're talking about ADD and mood disorders and things like that. I'm like, I never heard of this stuff. And I'm like, but I see so much of myself in here. Let me explore that. And as I'm exploring that, I have a friend group that's demonizing me and my behaviors. And now looking back at it, hindsight, I was anxious and I wasn't a bad person. I couldn't show up the way they wanted me to show up, but I wasn't showing up for myself that way. So when people get in the way, and if you don't know yourself and you listen to people,
you'll start to believe.
You'll start to believe it.
I mean, you will start to believe it, and that will be your story. That will be your story, and we get wrapped up in it. And I think that, this idea of self-care, I love it. I'm just want to make sure that, I work in marketing, right? That we're not just diluting it for consumerism.
And I see that.
I see it too.
I see it a lot.
Yeah. So it's the way that even when I go into department stores, right, we're putting that level of verbiage and content where you're using self-care for consumerism. And I want us to be at a space where it says it's a form of that. We'll take it, right? Because I like to, we like to get our feet done. We like to get our lashes done, our hair done. So that's still part of it. But I do think that we have to be careful of it because it's still part of it's beauty skin regimen, right? That's really what it boils
And spiritually bypassing.
And
that's a term I really need people to get comfortable with. Bypassing. Spiritual bypassing. That's where that toxic positivity, if you just smile today, you'll be great and it's fine.
That's good.
And I will out myself again. There was a point I realized I was spiritually bypassing because I was having this conversation with some great folks a few months ago, and I had mentioned ego death.
Oh, tell me.
And not a lot of people have heard of ego death or shadow work.
Oh, come on and drop these gems on Black Businesses Matter. Come on. Drop these gems.
Yes,
for
and
the
that
people.
was the part. And that's what we were bypassing, the shadow work. And having to look at, and the ego death is repetitive. You will continuously always have to check your ego. And then when you get to and we experience different decades of our lives. My ego in my 30s is definitely not my ego in my 20s. And how I'm about to show up in my 40s is not how I'm about to come in my 30s. So I always have to check in with myself every so often to make sure I'm keeping my good old, and she don't got a name yet, but she about to get one.
Okay.
To make sure this shadow of mine is comfortable.
Nice.
So we can continue to thrive. Because once she gets uncomfortable, she starts to shake up my life. So how can I tend to her shadow, her ego? Because when she feels away, it comes and it bleeds through so many beautiful things in my life, and we don't want that. So I didn't want to continue to bypass that part, nor hide it. So I try to be as authentic and open. I was told I take on the wounded healer because I go through so much personally. And I'm not always the one to ask for help through it. But one thing, I think this is a little black women.
Yeah.
But I am here to help others and to show, hey, when I placed my hand on the oven right here, it burned my hand, but it only burned my hand from here to here. So maybe if you tilt that this way, I got more things done this way, but I was the example so you can thrive.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that about my work. So I try to do my best to share or to show hey, here is how I'm setting my boundaries, or hey, I'm not feeling my complete self right now, so I'm not in the maker mode, or here's my boundaries here, just so people are able to see someone else navigate through it so they can know how to navigate it through themselves.
And let me say this, Samantha, because I find that what I'm hearing from you is that you took your personal experience and turned it into a solution for people that, Black and brown communities to be able to do it and I believe that that's us. We take our personal experiences and turn it into a thriving business, which is part of the reason why I wanted to start the show. Cause I felt like we weren't telling the real story. We were telling, it's like a million businesses in the world that are Black businesses, but we haven't heard the entire stories, whether I was laid off, underlooked, undervalued, didn't have a sense of belonging, that I wanted my story to be told. So to your point of, I love spiritually bypassed. So for example, right, in corporate, you don't share. Yeah, on Sunday I'm going to church and we're going to do this, right? You spiritually, you kind of hide that part of your life, right? Or if you went to a Black college, you hide that part of your life when you show up. So I love that you bypass some of these things that you've experienced, but they're part of who you are, which is what makes us go start on. So I can speak up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Because when you said that, I was like, that's, the code word is code switching.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? The code switching.
Yes. When you know someone personally, but they hop on here talking about in love and light. And then it's like, but didn't you just...
Right. Exactly.
Bypassing.
But I like the word spiritual because I think the code switch makes it a little too, I'm just going to say European.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Where spiritually bypassing doesn't make it negative or positive. It's just that space that we've had to do and bypass that in our lives. But we can go back to it.
Yes.
Right? We can go back to it. And I love that you have given us understanding around that in such a way that I've never heard it. So to me, I'm like, because I never liked the word code switching because I felt like, is it code switching or just adapting to the room that can handle the room that you're in, right?
Or survival.
Because
to me, it's surviving.
It is.
This doesn't feel good for me. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You think I like when I have to, okay, well, let me make sure,
let me get the
I want to make sure
right.
No.
Yeah.
I just try to be as authentic as I can. And even when I'm not showing up in my most authentic way, I am surrounded by so many beautiful people now that really see me trying to show up when I fall short sometimes.
That's beautiful. Okay, guys. Yes. So I want you all to know about Samantha Jo's Balm Yard. Yes. It's in Hyde Park, guys. It's there till December, right?
December, yes. Christmas time.
Nice. So we get to experience
hoorah.
it. Yes. So there's sweetest day you can take care of yourself. I think that's another thing that these love holidays, Valentine's Day is also an opportunity for us to love on ourselves from there. And so when they walk in, what are they going to experience?
Oh my gosh, the smells, because that is what they love the smell of our store. You're smelling a little bit of everything. We have fresh herbs in there. Okay. Jamaica does an amazing job keeping some fresh eucalyptus bundles handy in our store. Okay. So it really does look like an apothecary when you walk in because of Red Elephant Candle Company. Then you have Keon of Hyde and Park Company. He keeps his candle tops open. So all those beautiful scents mashing together, and then his room sprays, and child, people come in just spritz. What this one smell like? I know. And so when you get around to my area, as soon as you open one of my body butters, there's so many different scents that are just in that space. So smells off the top, it smells. But when you first walk in, there is this sense of And I loved experiencing that with people. Even if my stuff isn't your thing, there are books. It's like, well, have you heard about this? Do you know why eucalyptus smells so good? Here's a book. If you have 5 minutes, just sit down, chat with me. Where you from? Who are you? I don't care what anybody says. We all get ashy. Come over here, try some of these body butters. You know what I mean? I just want our store to be an experience. Nice. It's more than money for me because I'm in a community of people that look like me. And I understand in our community is hurt. Not all of us have it. There's been people that have come in that are curious, and I can see, especially teenagers.
I know.
Because in the day of TikTok, I don't want them to stray away from God and from themselves. So if I can do my part in little pieces, like, oh, well, just, look at this. I'm not here to change you, but I'm here to inspire you. And if you are inspired by something in here and you're like, oh, well, I only have, here's a sample, or here's a bath. Go take a bath. You just let me know how that worked for you.
Yeah.
It's not about the money for me. I'm serving.
That's beautiful.
I'm on the clock.
That's beautiful.
I'm on the clock with me and God. So
beautiful.
I am being of service, and this is more than money. Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I want people to know about your nonprofit. So wow, it's not, and I have to make sure, because as us Black folks,
yes,
we serve. That's who we are.
Yes.
And I think that is what makes us so unique, is that we are like faithful servants. That's what we do, and we do it pretty well. And so I think from that standpoint, people don't understand that money part, but you can serve and still receive your inheritance. I do believe that you can.
Yes.
And I believe that, just as a woman of God and just have done it, that I believe in that so much so.
Absolutely.
That as you all have heard from her, is that she has created a foundation. It is the Aura House. By the time you all hear this, her fundraiser will have happened. However, you can support the foundation as can you share with them the website for the foundation?
Absolutely. So the Aura House, you can find us online at theaurahouse.org. You can find us on Instagram at the Aura House. We had a bit of a pivot this season, and I'm so excited for the pivot.
Love it.
Because we're starting to incorporate more play. We don't play enough. We don't play outside enough. And I don't care what age you are. We don't be outside enough.
Come on.
So we are organizing an auntie pull-up event.
Oh, come on, auntie.
This is like, so bring your aunties, bring your moms. I just want this to be a Black woman event where you pull up and you meet other Black women. And we'll have my partners like, I'm just trying to get me and my guys on the grill. Y'all ain't got to do nothing. So they gonna grill us some food.
I love it.
And just do more field trips. There's a lot of us that don't want to go to these places alone, but we're curious.
Yeah.
So for the introvert girls, we plan these different workshops and events where we'll just pull up, have field trips with each other, go outside, go draw in the park, go to museums and things together. And then I work with a lot of therapists all over the world now that post up and teach us about our wellness, nutrition, spiritual wellness. And I know I've said a lot of things about my own spiritual practice, but it's about all spirituality. However you identify, there's a spot for you. And then I'm always welcoming other Black women to facilitate anything that they want to chat about, as long as it's in healing.
Nice.
So that's the Aura House. So come find us.
I love it. So check them out, guys. Support them.
Yes.
Volunteer.
Please.
Make a donation. I'm going to say it. Make a donation to support it. I love that you recognize aunties. It's funny, as a person that's been in marketing, we always marketed to moms, right? And I felt like, what about the village mom? What about the village auntie? And I felt like the brands that were realizing that they were just, everybody's going to the mom. Was like, there is like the auntie over there that's supporting that mom because the mom is stressed, that nobody's talking to her, right? And she's graduated in some areas from this place of like, she's the single girl. She's,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
She's graduated.
Yes.
So talk to her. So I love that you kind of paid homage to it, because I did feel didn't feel like it was just all this around moms, and we were just like, okay, but what about the girl that don't have no kids?
And
but she
ageism.
still serves. Yeah.
Ageism for sure. And I
sure.
see that being a marketing thing as well. And it's like everything is marketed towards younger women.
Yes.
And I think that's why we are so detached from our elders, because we're not inviting everybody into the space, whether young people think they're going to cramp my style or whatever it is. It's all ego at the end of the day. So we wanted to make it a point, because the women that are on my team are all ages. I think our youngest just turned 20 and our oldest is going into her 50s. So I'm like, it is important to see all of us. So that was our goal for that event in particular, is to put all of us in the same space to see us having fun. And I still like that.
But even when you think about your family, right? That's how you had grandma, you had auntie, you had cousin, and we all had, we had these, and I think we had all this fun together. And I think that's what I don't like when we say inclusion, because I think we take age out of it.
We do.
And inclusion is like, including this, all the LG. I love all of it, but it's also age. Include that.
Yes.
Include the young brilliant. Include the experienced brilliant. Include the veteran brilliant.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? The vets are still important.
Absolutely.
The seasons, the new, like it's that. And that is inclusion in the way that I see it. And that's important. And I need for D&I to really go and peel it open a little bit.
We need our communities back.
We do.
Because it does take a village. My auntie raised, I have 23 first cousins.
Wow.
And she is still raising my cousin's children.
Wow.
The auntie. And she had her kids, but she's still like, okay, well, go ahead, give me this baby.
I know.
You come in her room, she had the ABCs after school, come in here, sit down, do this. We'll go outside, have us with popsicles. Like my auntie did a lot.
Yeah.
And I rarely call her the way I need to on a Mother's Day to say, auntie, thank you.
Oh my gosh, you just hit a nerve. You just hit a nerve for me, Samantha, because I just had that conversation just recently, how I'm an auntie of an amazing 11-year-old. I just want to keep her 9, but she just made 11 Tuesday. I want to keep her 9. I don't know why, because I think it was the age before she went to the 2 digits.
Yeah.
But I feel like we don't get the cards.
Right.
But I feel like, unfortunately, that's when we need to bum rush Hallmarks and let them know, hey, aunties, the aunties, get us some more auntie cards in the black, in the black community, because I definitely think it is so important for that. So I just want to say, Samantha, this, I just love you and the work that you're doing. I do want to ask you this: why do Black businesses matter?
Black businesses matter because it's nothing like walking into a business and seeing someone that looks like you. That is the greatest feeling.
Yeah,
oh,
it is.
That's the greatest feeling. And I cannot wait for other entrepreneurs. As soon as you open on your day those doors and you get someone that looks like you, that is younger than you, that sees like, oh, wait, you got an afro? Yeah. Oh my God, you have braids? Yes. Wait, who's your boss? I'm the boss. What? Yeah. It's such a great feeling. And to me, that matters. I was a manager of a store next door to Silver Room for 3 years.
Okay.
And though it was not Black owned, people thought it was. So when they walked in, it was like,
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This you? I'm like, no, but I'm glad that it made you feel that way. It's just that Black thing that we have. And to me, it's that. I can't really put into words, but it's that feeling that makes me want to be there. Even because the pandemic, she couldn't keep it open. I didn't have none to my name. Yes. I don't have a Balm Yard at this point. Yeah. I'm like, I know if our community knew, it was like, I'll put that Black girl in there. Y'all better raise this money so we can have something that looks like that. So for me, it is having a legitimate place that I don't have to fix myself up or to act more to code switch for. So that's what it matters. I don't want a space that I have to think about not being my authentic self in and not followed. Because it's like, hey, you can, if you need help, I'm right here.
Love it.
But experience. When I tell people when they come in the store, this is hands-on.
Yeah.
If it break, we'll figure it out. But I wanted you to smell this. Experience it. Ask me how it was made. So that is what makes having a store that is Black owned.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. We asked this other question. Yeah. I think I know what you're going to say, but of course I don't want to do that. What brings you joy?
I love that you asked me this. Because when I was going through my pivot for the Aura House, I sat down and that was the question I asked myself. It's on my report and my team loved it. I said, this is what brings Sam Joe joy. And what I said on that list was building with my community, giving to my community. I like to experience things not only in nature, where I know my people are always beside me, but with other people. And I have this love-hate relationship with being social, but being social with people that overstand brings me so much joy. And I'm not going to continue to have experience like that if I continue to hide. Wow. And I'm going to tear up a little bit.
That's all right. That's okay. Oh my gosh. Because I feel it. I feel it. It's a joy though.
It is.
And we learned that we hide that joy.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked that question when I created, because Black joy was not represented.
No.
It hasn't.
And we look at each other in competition. So to see people that genuinely mean well, just this experience in here, it brings me so much joy. So it's you all that brings me so much joy, and knowing that people like you still exist.
Wonderful. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm a Pisces moon. Listen, I get emotional.
and I'm learning, like, it's okay, because we have to have that safe space, and you have created a safe space for others. But I am having a sense of joy that you felt safe enough here in this space, in this moment, to be able to share that joy with us.
Yes.
So
you make it easy.
Oh,
y'all
so
make
sweet.
it so easy in the most authentic way, with so many boundaries, but so easy.
Man, I appreciate that. I
Absolutely.
do. Because I feel like when I decided to ask that question, is because I had never experienced anyone ever asking me what brought me joy in life, just as a business owner. And I wouldn't be doing what I was doing without joy. But no one ever asked me that. And so they look at it as, oh, she's having fun. Oh, she's not really working, but it's because of the joy that I have that keeps me going. But I think the joy is what people look at and be like, she's not really working. She's just out socializing, or she's out, you know?
Joy is not equivalent to fun.
It's not.
That does not equate fun.
It's not.
I can have so much fun doing what I do on a very tough day.
Correct.
And I saw a meme that says, attach yourself to the mission, not the job.
That's right. That's right.
And the mission are the people.
Right. That's right.
We know what is lacking in our communities. So.
Totally. And I think sometimes I always felt like you know how they say she was before her time. I do feel like that, because I'm so much more connected to millennials and Gen Z than I am to my own generation.
Really?
I am so connected. And it's just because that level of freedom I didn't have. And, you know, when people found out, you know, they were just like, oh, you want to be an entrepreneur, girl? You don't want to work for nobody? Like, you want to be lazy? You know what I mean? So that was different, because everybody was getting corporate. But when I got you know, so then you're different. So I've always loved millennials and Gen Z. I was like, they're so real. They're so free. Like, they're living a vibrant life. They're living their best life. That's how I see it. So today I look at them and I'll say to them, but now Gen X is looking at them like, you know what? I do love them, you know, but I don't
going back to your leather question from earlier, when you say, how do you awaken that generation, because they're seeing us get it.
Yes.
So when I tell my mother these things that I'm awakening to, she's like, damn, well, I want some of that.
Yes.
So you tell me you got to this point where you at now because you did this?
Like, for real?
And now she wants to go to therapy with me.
Oh, now
she just turned 60 years old last August. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
The oldest person in my group therapy group, she was 73 years old.
I need to get my parents in there.
And she looked at all of us and she said, if I known then, and the fact, and we're looking at her like, the fact that you didn't give up.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
That's beautiful.
There's no excuse. And when I tell my mother that story, and we just had a chat last week, she was like, okay, I think I'm ready.
Can you tell Mama that I said she is inspiring?
Oh,
please tell her that. Because I think she's inspiring a generation that didn't know that. And I think her story and her own journey to get there is inspiring. So please tell her that she's an inspiration. You guys heard it. We don't know her mama. So don't be out there talking about her mama like that.
Yeah, she a Leo. She a fire sign.
She a girl. I got one too. My mama Leo. So you right.
You know.
Babe,
you know.
That is,
you.
I'm over here like, yes. So I just want to say, everyone, this has just been an incredible interview. Samantha Jo, guys, if you're in Chicago, Samantha Jo's Balm Yard, which is the L1 connector on 50, it's on Garfield, and make sure Garfield Boulevard, right under the green line, guys. It is such a whole experience. As she mentioned, there's three other businesses, so it's total 4, right?
There's one special guest that popped up from last cohort. We have Peter from Reform School.
And
Peter. Peter's still in there. Peter is whipping us into shape. Okay. We are about to be the most prestige entrepreneur.
Oh, that's awesome.
Peter's amazing.
He is.
So shout out to Peter.
Yeah, shout out to Peter and the Reform School.
Yes. So we have some of Peter's buttons, pins, and magnets and clothing, and you can find some of his bow ties now.
I would say his bow ties are there. I love his bow. I remember when he first started that business. I'm just like, wow.
And he has expanded so much.
I know.
Yes.
And just remember, he too had this dream, and people thought he was crazy for what he had. And now he will too have a household brand that we will see all over the world.
Yes.
People
so
rocking it. Me
excited.
too.
Yes.
So just all of that is inside of the L1 connector. For everybody that's like enjoying summertime shy, right? Because that's hashtag summertime shy. By the time you all get this, we might be on our way out. However, they're not. They're still there. So go and check them out. Check out Samantha Jo's Balm Yard. I'm just going to allow for Samantha to share her social media handles with everyone so that you can stay in contact and get updates of the amazing things that they've got going on, as well as the nonprofit. So go ahead and share.
Yeah. So you can definitely, again, at the Aura House on Instagram. And then my hashtag is at Samantha Jo's Balm Yard, where you can find updates, posts about everything. And then I'm going to also give you guys Shop L1 Chicago, which you can find on Facebook and on Instagram, where you can see our store hours, address, and any fun events that we have. Today, we actually have a photo pop up. So we're always doing some fun things in there. So check us out.
And it's for all ages, guys. So you can bring the whole family. And just for those that are listening, because you all know we are a podcast, Samantha Jo's Balm Yard. For many of you all, you probably thinking she got a lip balm. She got a chapstick.
Yes.
She doesn't. Because I know that's what they're thinking.
People ask me that all the time. You got a skincare? That's why I say, and it's a Botanica, and a Botanica is an apothecary. But when you put that Botanica bit on it, people end up knowing like, oh, I know what she doing up in there. So I have herbs, I have amulets, I have candles, and a beautiful range of body butters. Yes. I practice alchemy. I do not write all my recipes down.
Okay.
That's what makes it special.
And you have books too?
I do have books.
Yes. Zora? You got some Zora books?
I have some Zora. I have Bell Hooks. I have Louisa Tish. I have a lot of beautiful books, even the 4 Agreements books.
Wow.
People really love it.
I love the 4 Agreements. I read that long time. I need to read it again.
Yeah, so that's a staple. So I always have a lot of herbal books and things like that. So
that's awesome. Thank you for
joining
us in our
studio.
You
so much. This is so
exciting.
amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be in our new studio, and we have Samantha Jo in our studio today. So I just want to tell you all, thank you all for just rocking with me in this new season 5. We are in season 5. God, I cannot believe it. Ooh. So thank you so much, Samantha. And for all you listeners, thank you for another episode of Black Businesses Matter. See you next week.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.